Do you ever feel like the world is too loud, too overwhelming, constantly demanding your attention? Well, let me tell you a story that the world often forgets to mention. There's a sacred, unseen truth that God is deeply aware of. It's a truth that doesn't demand applause or recognition from the masses. These are the marks that only the chosen ones of God carry, marks that aren't painted on the outside, but are deeply engraved in the heart by the hand of the Almighty Himself. These marks are not what the world defines as important. They are not about fame, fashion, or external beauty. They are about divine calling, spiritual strength, and a higher purpose. In a world where everyone's vying for attention, where we are constantly told how to look, how to speak, and how to define success, the pressure to conform is heavy. Our society has become obsessed with outward appearances. We judge worth by the number of likes, followers, brands we wear, and how loud our applause is. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. Your true identity is not determined by the world's standards. It is God who defines you. His mark is on you. And it's something far beyond the surface level. The chosen ones of God are not defined by popularity or what's trending online. You may never see their names in lights or their faces on billboards. But heaven knows them. God sees them. He has placed His hand upon them. And that mark is eternal. When God chooses someone, He doesn't see the way the world sees. People look at the external, the tallest, the strongest, the best looking. But God, He sees the heart. That's exactly what He told the prophet Samuel when he went to choose a king. Everyone expected the obvious choice, someone who stood out in stature. But God had a different plan. He chose David, a young shepherd boy with a heart after His own. David wasn't the people's choice, but he was God's choice. And the same is true for you today. There are women walking through life quietly, humbly, faithfully, who are carrying the very presence of God inside them. The world might overlook them, but the kingdom of heaven recognizes them. They are not chosen because of talent, beauty, or fame. They are chosen because of surrender. These marks are not painted on with makeup or designed in the spotlight. They are etched in secret, formed in prayer, and born through brokenness. They are shaped in the quiet hours of the night when no one else is watching. But God is listening. These marks are not earned through effort, they are given through grace. The chosen ones may walk into a room and remain unnoticed by the world. But when they enter heaven's throne room, something shifts. The angels lean in because they carry something holy. You don't need the world's approval to be chosen by God. He has never needed permission from anyone to raise someone up. He called Moses when he was hiding in the desert. He called Esther when she was tucked away in a palace. He called Mary when she was just a young girl in a small village. None of them were famous. None of them were perfect. But they were all chosen. Do you feel invisible, unheard, overlooked? Maybe you've been wondering if your life even matters. Let me tell you this. God sees you. He knows your name. He knows your heart. And if He has placed His mark upon your life, nothing can erase it. You are not forgotten. You are not ordinary. You are not just someone. You are someone called by God. And what sets the chosen apart is not what they do. It's who they belong to. They are women of faith, purpose, and fire. They don't seek glory or chase the spotlight. They live for an audience of one. Their confidence doesn't come from applause. It comes from the secret place of knowing they are deeply loved and divinely assigned. This kind of identity can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. It's planted by the Spirit of God and watered through obedience. These women may not carry degrees or titles, but they carry something far more precious, oil. The presence of God goes with them wherever they go. And wherever they step, something shifts, not because of who they are, but because of who lives in them. So don't be discouraged if the world doesn't recognize your worth. The one who formed you in the womb, who numbered your days before you ever lived a single one, He knows you. He has marked you with His love, His purpose, and His Spirit, chosen by God. That is the highest identity you can ever carry. And no crown, no title, no spotlight will ever compare to that. Let the world chase after the surface. But those who are chosen, they carry the substance. Because when God marks you, His mark is eternal. Now, let's talk about faith. Not the kind that's only easy when everything is going well. Faith, real faith, is forged in the fire. It doesn't shine the brightest when the skies are clear and life is comfortable. Faith shines the brightest in the darkest hours. It shows its strength when the winds are howling, the storms rage, and fear knocks at the door. The chosen are not marked by faith that's loud during the good times, but by faith that holds on when everything around them is falling apart. The Bible tells us about Job, a man who lost everything: his wealth, his health, even his children. And yet, through his tears, through his grief, he declared, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." That's the kind of faith the chosen carry. It's not a shallow, emotional faith. It's a deep, rooted trust that says, "I don't understand, but I still believe. I don't see the way, but I know God is with me." And maybe, right now, that's you, walking through fire. But know this: you are not alone. You are chosen. As we reflect on the unwavering faith of the chosen, let's explore what truly defines them, not just their faith, but the wisdom they walk in. Perhaps you've experienced your life being shaken, your plans disrupted, or dreams delayed. Maybe people have walked away, or the doors you prayed for remained closed. You may have found yourself asking God, "Where are you?" But let me remind you, the presence of the storm does not mean the absence of God. In fact, for those who are chosen, faith is not about waiting for everything to make sense or for life to feel comfortable. The chosen walk by faith, not by sight. They don't need to feel goosebumps or have every prayer answered to know that God is working. They trust, not because everything is perfect, but because they know the character of the one who called them. God is faithful. He is good. He never leaves, never forgets, and he never fails. Take a moment to think about the boldness of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego standing before the fiery furnace. Threatened with death, what did they say? Their response is one of the greatest declarations of faith ever recorded. Our God is able to deliver us. But even if he doesn't, we will not bow. That is the kind of faith that marks the chosen. It's the kind of faith that believes in miracles but still loves God even when miracles don't come. In today's world, many people desire a faith that works only when life is easy. But the chosen walk in a faith that holds steady when everything around them seems to be falling apart. Their trust is not built on favorable outcomes but on a relationship. They don't just believe in God's hand, they know God's heart. This kind of faith doesn't develop overnight. It's formed in the secret place, built in times of waiting, in the battles, and even in disappointment. The chosen have cried. They've asked difficult questions. They've wrestled in prayer, but through it all, they've held on to the one who never let go of them. Real faith is not the absence of doubt. It's the decision to trust God in the middle of doubt. It's not pretending everything is perfect, but declaring that God is still good, even when life isn't. It's looking at the mountain and saying, "Move," even when it hasn't budged yet. It's walking into the unknown, with nothing but a word from God in your heart, believing that even when you don't see the way, you are walking with the one who does. The chosen carry that kind of faith like a torch. It lights their path, it strengthens their steps, and when others look at them, they don't see perfection, they see perseverance. They see someone who didn't quit, someone who still worshipped, someone who kept believing when everything around them said give up. If you're walking through a dark valley, hold on. If your prayers seem unanswered, don't let go. The same God who led you into the valley will lead you out. The fire will not destroy you. It will define you. And when you come out, you'll come out with something far more valuable than gold. You'll come out with a faith that is real, tested, and unshakable. Faith is the first mark of the chosen because everything else flows from it. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. But with even the faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. So keep walking, keep trusting, keep believing. Your faith is not in vain. It is the invisible thread that ties you to the promises of heaven. And when all is said and done, it will be your faith, not your fame, that tells the world you were chosen. In every generation, there is a cry for understanding, for direction, for clarity. We live in a world overflowing with information, opinions, headlines, philosophies, and data. Yet in the midst of all this noise, very few walk in true wisdom. But the chosen? They do. One of the hidden marks of the chosen is not how much they know, but how deeply they understand. There is a vast difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is having facts. Wisdom is knowing what to do with those facts. You can have degrees, experience, and intelligence and still lack wisdom. But when God marks a person, He gives them something far more precious than education or intellect. He gives them wisdom from above. The Bible tells us in Proverbs chapter 3 verse 15 that wisdom is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. That's a bold statement, isn't it? More than beauty, more than money, more than success. Why? Because wisdom is what helps a woman build her house. Wisdom is what helps her guide her family, navigate conflicts, speak with grace, and walk in discernment. It's the foundation that supports everything else. When you are chosen, you're not swayed by every opinion. You don't jump on every trend. You don't believe every voice you hear. Instead, you lean into the voice of God. And that voice? It is the beginning of wisdom. The book of James tells us that the wisdom from above is pure, peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial, and sincere. That's the kind of wisdom that doesn't come from books, podcasts, or seminars. It comes from intimacy with the Lord. It's cultivated in quiet time. It's born through humility. Wisdom grows in the soil of surrender. The chosen women are not loud in the streets trying to prove their worth. They carry a stillness about them, a quiet strength. They speak with weight, not because they shout, but because they speak truth. And when they speak, people listen, not because they want attention, but because they carry the wisdom of heaven. Consider the story of Abigail, a woman in the Bible who exemplifies this wisdom. Found in 1 Samuel chapter 25. She was married to a foolish man named Nabal, who insulted David, the soon-to-be king. David, in his anger, was on his way to destroy Nabal and everything he had. But Abigail, full of wisdom, stepped in. She prepared gifts, humbled herself before David, and spoke with grace and truth. Her words turned away wrath, saving lives. David even said to her, "Praise be to the Lord who has sent you today to meet me. May you be blessed for your good judgment." You see, wisdom diffuses danger. It calms storms. It builds bridges. That's what the chosen carry. Not just intelligence, but divine insight. They see what others miss. They sense things before they happen. They don't react in panic. They respond with wisdom. They don't jump into arguments. Sometimes, wisdom is knowing when to stay silent. Sometimes, it's knowing when to speak up. Sometimes, it's trusting God when everyone else says give up. The chosen walk by wisdom, not by emotion. They don't chase approval. They seek understanding. In a generation where everyone is seeking answers, the chosen find them in the quiet voice of God. And in this wisdom, they find peace. As we delve deeper into the marks of the chosen, we come to one of the most vital qualities they carry: courage. Courage, often misunderstood, is not just about being bold or unshaken. It's the inner strength that rises when everything around you says, give up. But first, let's take a step back and reflect on the foundation of wisdom that we discussed earlier. We desperately need women who carry wisdom, but not just any kind of wisdom. We need women who know how to lead, to nurture, to build, and to restore. Women who have the ability to see beyond the surface. Women who know how to fight in prayer, protect their peace, and move when the Spirit says move. These women don't just live, they leave a trail behind them. A trail of peace, healing, and direction wherever they go. They don't just talk, they walk. They don't just dream, they act. They don't just hear, they listen. And when others are confused, they stand clear, because their minds are renewed by the Word, and their hearts are aligned with the will of God. But here's the key point you must grasp. Wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord. This is not the kind of fear that makes you shrink back, but a fear that embodies reverence, honor, and awe. It's about putting God first, about bowing your heart before Him so that your spirit can begin to receive what no book or classroom could ever teach. This is the secret of the chosen. This is the source of their strength. At first glance, this wisdom may not look flashy. It's not glamorous. It doesn't stand out in the crowd. But the chosen women, those who walk in godly wisdom, quietly leave an indelible mark on the world. They don't make noise to get noticed. Their lives speak volumes. They walk in peace, and that peace moves with them. They act with discernment, and the world notices the difference. Wisdom is not a personality trait, nor is it about age or status. It's a divine gift. When God places wisdom on a person's life, it becomes a compass that guides them through life's storms. So, seek wisdom, but not the world's version. Seek heaven's truth. Let the word of God dwell richly in you. Pray for understanding. Ask for discernment, because when you walk in wisdom, you walk with the mark of the chosen. The world will know, not because you shouted it, but because the fruit of your life cannot be denied. Now, let's shift gears and explore another crucial virtue, the one that often gets overlooked but is perhaps one of the most defining qualities of the chosen: courage. Courage is a word we love to admire, but it's often misunderstood. Many believe courage means the absence of fear, that to be brave, you have to be bold, loud, and unshaken. But true courage isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing to stand firm in the face of it. It's about trusting God more than you trust your emotions or circumstances. The chosen are not marked by a life without fear. They are marked by a spirit that refuses to bow to fear. They may face the same storms, doubts, and battles as anyone else, but instead of shrinking back, they rise, not because they are strong in themselves, but because they know the one who goes before them. God doesn't call us into a life of ease. In fact, when God calls someone, He often leads them into challenges. He calls them into deep waters. But He also promises, "Do not be afraid, for I am with you." Courage is not needed when the road is smooth. Courage is born when the way is steep, when the night is dark, and when the answers don't come quickly. Consider Joshua. When Moses died, Joshua was tasked with leading an entire nation. This was not a simple assignment. He was stepping into unknown territory, and God told him time and time again, "Be strong and courageous." Why? Because fear would try to grip his heart. Because leading into the unknown would be difficult. But God promised him that He would be with him every step of the way. This is where courage is born, in the presence of God, not in the absence of trouble. There are women today who carry this kind of courage. The world may not notice them, but heaven does. They may not be in the spotlight, but they are pillars in prayer. They fight battles no one sees. They make decisions that honor God even when it costs them. They speak truth when silence would be easier. They choose obedience over comfort. These women are not fearless. They are faithful. Courage isn't about never feeling fear. It's about standing firm despite it. Let me tell you something important. Courage is not always loud. Sometimes, it looks like getting out of bed when life feels too heavy. Sometimes it looks like showing up again after failure. Sometimes, courage looks like saying yes to God even when everything inside of you wants to run the other way. It's saying, "I don't feel ready, but Lord, if you call me, I will go." The chosen carry this courage not because they have confidence in themselves but because they have confidence in their Savior. They know their strength is limited, but His is not. They know their hearts may tremble, but His word stands forever. And so they move forward, not because the path is clear, but because the one who called them is faithful. Esther was a woman like this. She lived in a palace, surrounded by luxury and comfort. But when her people were threatened, she faced a decision: stay silent and safe or speak up and risk her life. In that moment, Esther chose courage. She chose to stand, and she uttered those powerful words, "If I perish, I perish." That is the voice of the chosen. Not reckless, but resolute, not afraid to die because they've already surrendered their lives to God. Fear is one of the greatest weapons the enemy uses to paralyze the chosen. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being misunderstood. But courage breaks those chains. Courage says, "Even if they don't understand me, I will obey God." Courage says, "Even if I don't know the outcome, I will take the step." You don't need to feel brave to be brave. You just need to obey. Every act of courage begins with a decision, a whisper in your heart that says, "God, I trust you." And from that tiny seed of trust, God produces the strength you need to carry you through any fire. Courage is not something you manufacture. It's something God imparts. He gives it to those who are willing, and He strengthens those who lean on Him. The chosen don't stand because they have no fear. They stand because they know God is greater than their fear. So, if you find yourself facing something bigger than you, don't run, don't retreat, take heart. The same God who gave David the courage to face Goliath, who gave Esther the strength to speak up, Who stood with Daniel in the lion's den? That same God is with you. The world may call it stubbornness, and others may call it foolishness, but God calls it courage. Continuing from where we left off, we now enter a profound truth about growth and the process of transformation. As we discussed earlier, courage isn't simply about being fearless, it's about standing firm despite fear. And in the same vein, when we speak of growth, we need to challenge the common perception that it's a smooth, upward journey. Growth is far more complex and unpredictable than that. When most people think about growth, they imagine a linear path, something that steadily climbs as time and effort are invested. But life's fifth truth shatters that illusion. Growth is not linear. It's not a steady climb with clear, measurable progress. In fact, understanding this one fact can completely transform how you view your goals, your journey, and even the setbacks that come along the way. Growth, in reality, is erratic, messy, and chaotic. It doesn't follow a predictable path. Some days, you feel invincible, like you're soaring above the clouds, unstoppable and full of energy. Other days, it feels like you're stuck in place, like nothing you're doing is working, and you begin questioning everything. But here's something important to realize. This does not mean you're failing. It means you're growing. If you've ever planted a seed, you know it doesn't sprout into a tree overnight. It pushes through the dirt, battles storms, faces changing weather, yet still it reaches toward the light. The process isn't smooth or quick, but eventually, it results in growth. Your own personal development works in a similar way. There will be periods of rapid growth followed by times when nothing seems to be happening. But just because it looks like nothing is happening doesn't mean nothing is happening. Sometimes the biggest growth occurs beneath the surface. It's in the deep work you're doing, shifting your mindset, strengthening your roots, and developing the foundation that will support your future progress. Have you ever found yourself doing all the right things, following the steps you know will lead to success, but yet nothing seems to be happening? That's not failure. That's part of the process. We live in a society that conditions us to expect immediate results. We're taught that if we work hard, success will come quickly. But real transformation doesn't happen that way. The journey of personal growth, whether it's mastering your habits, your mindset, or your purpose, doesn't follow a straight line. It's a winding path, full of detours, unexpected climbs, moments of clarity, and confusing setbacks. And that's okay. You must embrace the idea that progress is not always visible. Many times, the seeds you're planting won't bear fruit right away. You are developing skills, habits, and mindsets that may not show immediate results. But they are laying the groundwork for something greater. Even though you might feel like you're standing still, know that you are actually positioning yourself for a breakthrough. That pause, that struggle, that confusion, those are all part of the process of restructuring. Growth requires discomfort. It forces you to challenge the old version of yourself, to stretch your identity, your belief system, and your patience. But here's the crucial point. You have to keep showing up, especially on the days when it feels like you're not moving at all. Discipline and consistency will always outlast fleeting motivation. Motivation can come and go, but discipline builds momentum. And even if that momentum feels small, it will eventually lead to transformation. But only if you don't quit. So stop comparing your path to others. The timelines of people around you are not your timelines. Some may hit milestones early, while others may bloom later. Neither path is better than the other. What matters is that growth is personal, deep, and beautifully unpredictable. Celebrate the small wins, the fact that you didn't quit, that you're still pushing forward, that you're learning, even if the progress feels slow. Every step counts. Even the steps backward are valuable. Often, it's those steps that lead to greater self-awareness. Sometimes, we need to fall to learn how to rise. We need to fail in order to build resilience. We need moments of silence to hear our inner voice more clearly. These are all vital parts of nonlinear growth. The setbacks, the detours, the breakdowns, those are the things that ultimately make the comeback possible. So if you're in a season of your life where it feels like nothing is happening, trust that something is happening beneath the surface. If you feel lost, know that you are being redirected. If you feel stuck, understand that it's just a pause, not the end. The universe does not rush things that are meant to last. So, don't rush your growth. Give yourself permission to grow at your own pace. Take breaks when you need them. Breathe, learn, evolve, because when you finally look back, you'll see that every twist, every turn, and every moment of doubt was part of your becoming. The fifth truth of life teaches us to trust the process. To realize that growth is not about following a perfect, Instagram-worthy timeline. True growth happens in depth, in strength, and in spirit. And that kind of growth, that kind of transformation, it's never linear. But it is always worth it. Now, let's talk about one of the most undeniable truths of life: pain. We can all agree that pain is a part of life. And yet, it is often one of the things we least want to face. But the sixth truth of life reveals something incredible. Pain is not meant to break us, it's meant to build us. As strange as it may sound, pain is one of life's greatest teachers. It shows us what truly matters. It reveals who we are under pressure. It exposes our deepest wounds, not to destroy us, but to help us heal them. When everything is going smoothly, we rarely question things. We get comfortable, and we assume that the good times will last forever. But it's in the painful moments, the heartbreaks, the rejections, the failures, and the losses, that we are forced to confront ourselves. And it's in that confrontation that true transformation happens. Pain strips away the superficial. It humbles the ego. It forces us to face our vulnerabilities and reminds us that we are not invincible. But pain also shows us how strong we really are. When you go through something painful, you come out on the other side changed. You gain new perspectives. You gain strength. You gain empathy. Pain connects us to one another. Everyone experiences it, but in different forms and at different times. No one is exempt. That's why it's crucial not to run from pain but to lean into it. To learn from it, and to let it shape you into something more. Most people try to avoid pain at all costs. We numb it with distractions, work, entertainment, or even addictions. But the more we avoid it, the more power pain holds over us. The truth is, you cannot heal what you won't face. The moment you stop running from pain and start sitting with it, truly feeling it, acknowledging it, and asking what it's trying to teach you, that's when you begin to grow. So embrace pain, learn from it, and let it transform you into the best version of yourself. Continuing from the earlier discussion on how pain plays a pivotal role in shaping our growth, let's delve deeper into understanding how it helps us recognize where our true worth lies and why it's so essential for our evolution. Pain has a way of showing us the places in our lives that we've neglected, the areas we've been avoiding. It calls attention to the things we've refused to acknowledge, the boundaries we've failed to set, and the truths we've kept hidden from ourselves. Think back to some of the most painful moments in your life, those moments when everything seemed to fall apart. Now, reflect on how much you've grown because of them. Maybe there was a time when you were forced to let go of someone you loved deeply. And in the process, you learned how to love yourself better, more fiercely. Maybe you gave your all to something, a goal, a dream, a career, and failed miserably. But through that failure, you uncovered a strength you never knew existed. Perhaps you were betrayed, and through that painful experience, you discovered your own worth and learned to set higher standards for who you allow into your life. Pain doesn't come to break you. It comes to rebuild you, to make you stronger, wiser, and clearer about what truly matters. We often tend to think that if we're experiencing pain, we must be on the wrong path. We might believe that we've failed or made the wrong choice. But in truth, pain doesn't always signal a misstep. Sometimes, it's a sign that you're being refined, that you're growing into someone better. Think about it this way. Pressure creates diamonds. Fire purifies gold. Without resistance, without obstacles, without moments of discomfort, there would be no transformation. If everything in life were always smooth and easy, we would never develop courage. We wouldn't have the chance to build character. We wouldn't be able to find our true purpose. Some of the most successful, most inspiring, and most grounded people you'll ever meet are the ones who've gone through the deepest pain but chose not to let it define them. Instead, they allowed it to refine them. You are not your pain. You are the person who is learning and rising through it. Every time you choose to face pain and grow from it instead of letting it harden you or close you off from the world, you become more powerful, more compassionate, more aware. Pain cracks open your heart so it can expand. It stretches your perspective, forcing you to see beyond the limited view you once had. It invites you to release the old version of yourself, one that can no longer carry you forward into the next chapter of your life. And here's something incredibly powerful to remember. Your pain today will one day become someone else's survival guide. The lessons you're learning right now through your struggles will eventually transform into wisdom that you can share. The wisdom, scars, and experiences you accumulate along the way will inspire others to keep going when they feel like giving up. That's the beauty of pain. It connects us through our shared humanity. Pain reminds us that we are not alone. It teaches us that healing is not a linear process, but it is possible. So the next time pain visits you, don't immediately ask, "Why me?" Instead, ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" Don't view it as punishment. See it as preparation for something greater. See it as the catalyst that will bring about a stronger version of yourself. It's an invitation for you to gain a deeper understanding of life, of yourself, and of your purpose. Pain may not be something we choose, but how we respond to it is where our power lies. It's within our ability to choose how we engage with pain that determines our growth. When we stop seeing pain as something to escape, as something we need to avoid at all costs, and instead begin to see it as something we need to engage with, something that has a lesson for us, that's when everything changes. At the end of the day, pain will visit all of us, whether we want it or not. It's a universal experience, but what really matters is what we do with that pain. It's how we choose to react to it, how we decide to learn from it and grow through it. That will define who we become. Pain doesn't get the final word in your story. You do.